everyone, and welcome back to our Principles of Management course. हाँ दोबारा से करती हूँ. Good morning everyone, and welcome back to our Principles of Management course. Today we begin a new chapter which is about managing human resources. I want to start with a simple question. What is the most valuable asset of any organization? Some of you may think of money, buildings, or advanced machinery, but in reality, the true strength of any organization lies in its people. Without skilled, motivated, and committed individuals, even the best strategy or the most advanced technology will fail. That is why managing human resources is not the just job of the HR department, it is a responsibility shared by all managers. So, in today's lecture, we will explore how organizations attract the right people and ensure they are best fit for their job. So, why is human resource management important? HRM is a very core of organizational success. There are three main reasons why it is so important. Firstly, HRM is a powerful source of competitive advantage. Research from Human Capital Index, which examined over 2,000 global firms, found that organizations with a strong people oriented HR practices consistently creates more shareholder value than those without them. Think about it this way: technology, equipment, or a financial capital can be copied by competitors, but a workforce that is skilled, motivated, and committed is incredibly difficult to imitate. That is why companies like Google or Southwest Airlines places so much emphasis on building a people first culture. The second reason is HRM matters is because it is an integral part of an organizational strategies. In the past, employees are often seen as just an other cost to be minimized. But in today's world, forward thinking organizations recognizes that employees are partners in achieving strategic objectives and goals. For example, the company behind Gore-Tex Fabrics treats its employees as collaborators, not as mere laborers. This approach shifts the role of HR from being purely administrative to becoming a strategic driver of growth. And finally, the way organization treats their employees has a direct impact on employee performance. Study shows that improving workforce practices can increase a company market value by as much as 30%. These practices that leads to such results are known as high performance work practices. These includes initiatives such as extensive employee involvement, performance based compensations, training programs to develop skills, open communication channels, and flexible job assignments. So, together these practices motivates employees, increase the retention of employees, and create an environment where both individuals and organizations thrives. Even if a company does not adopt all these high performance practices, it must still carry out certain HR activities to ensure that it has competent employees. This is what we call HRM process. It includes 8 main activities ranging from identifying and selecting employees to developing them to retaining them and rewarding them. But before we dive into these activities, we first understand the external factors that shapes how HRM operates. So, external factors that affects HRM. The HRM process does not exist in isolation. It is heavily influenced by external factors such as economy, labor unions, government regulations, and demographic shifts as well. Let's discuss this one by one. The economy plays a very significant role in HRM. For example, during the times of economic slowdown, as seen in the global recession, companies faced overwhelming numbers of job applicants. One case in Indiana showed how a single administrative assistant position paying $13 an hour attracted over 500 applicants, ranging from experienced professionals to recent graduates. While this may seem like a blessing, it actually creates challenges for HR managers as well, who must sift through larger pool of candidates to find the right fit. Moreover, economic downturns often lead to temporary or contract job replacing stable full-time roles. In Japan, the old expectation of a lifetime employment has disappeared, and in Europe, unemployment levels have continued to rise in certain countries. So, these shifts fundamentally changes how employees view work and retirement, forcing HR managers to rethink their strategies. Another key external factor is employee labor unions. These labor unions are organizations that represent workers and protect their interests through collective bargaining. In unionized setting, HR decisions are often shaped by agreements that dictate how hiring, promotion, training and disciplinary actions are carried out. For example, in British Airways, they faced significant disruption when its cabin crew union organized strikes over work conditions. In China, strikes at Honda and Toyota plants reflected workers' frustration with long working hours and lower wages. So, globally, the rate of unionization varies widely. About 12% of US workers are unionized, compared to much higher rates in Denmark, Canada, and Germany. This means that managers in different countries face very different constraints when dealing with HR practices. The legal environment also plays a very crucial role. HR practices are governed by strict laws to ensure fairness and protect employee from any kind of discrimination. For example, US law prohibit discrimination based on race, gender, religion, age or disability. Employers must also comply with regulations regarding fair pay, workplace safety, medical leaves and retirement benefits. The point here is that manager cannot simply choose whom to hire, fire or promote based on their personal preference. Every decision must be legally defensible. Affirmative action programs which aims to improve the opportunity for minorities and employees also fall under this umbrella. Similar to legal trends, demographic trends represent another powerful force. For example, if we talk about BMW redesigned one of its factory in Germany to better accommodate an aging workforce by making changes such as wooden floors to reduce joint strain and ergonomic seating. In the United States, the workforce has changed significantly over the past 50 years, with women now holding nearly half of all the jobs. In fact, during the recent economic downturn, men lost jobs at higher rates because industries like construction, manufacturing were hit harder, while women in education and healthcare were less affected. So, how to identify and select competent employees? Now that we understand why HRM is important and how external factors shape HRM practices, let us turn to the first stage of the HRM process, which is about identifying and selecting competent employees. This stage includes three major tasks: human resource planning, recruitment and de-recruitment, and the lastly selection. Human resource planning is a process of ensuring that the organization has the right number of capable people in the right place and at the right time. And it begins with assessing the current workforce. Managers create an inventory of employees, skills, qualification and experience, often use sophisticated databases for maintaining this information. Once current capabilities are assessed, manager must anticipate future needs based on the organizational goals and strategies. For example, if a company is planning international expansion, it must prepare to recruit people with a global experience and more cultural adaptability. After the planning process comes recruitment and de-recruitment. Now, what is recruitment? Recruitment is a process of attracting a pool of qualified employees, applicants, so that managers can select the best people for a job. The goal is not to simply gather as many applications as possible, but to bring in individuals who genuinely match the organizational needs. Recruitment can be carried out through different channels, different ways, and one of the most common method today which are used is online recruitment, where companies use job portals, company websites and professional networking platforms like LinkedIn. So, this method reaches a wide audience quickly and cost effectively. There are other sources of recruitment as well, like employee referrals, where current staff members recommend potential candidates. Research shows that referrals often produce the most successful hires because employees tend to suggest people they trust and believe will fit into the culture. Organizations also recruit from different colleges and universities as well, especially for the entry level positions. By attending job fairs or partnering with the campus placement offices. Other way can be professional associations as well, or employment agencies, or even walk-in applications can serve as a powerful or useful source of candidates. So, each method has its own advantages and disadvantages. Online recruitment may attract a huge number of applications, but many may be unqualified, while referrals produce a fewer applicants, but often of a high quality. So, ultimately effective recruitment ensures that the organization has access to a diverse and competent talent pool. Coming to the de-recruitment, while recruitment focuses on attracting talent, de-recruitment is about reducing the workforce when an organization has more employees than it needs. And this often happens during economic downturns, when businesses are restructuring or technological changes that reduce the demand for certain kind of roles. De-recruitment can take again several forms. The most direct method is layoff, where employees are permanently let go due to the lack of work or cost cutting needs of a company. In some cases, organizations use attrition, which means leaving vacant positions unfilled when employees retire or resigns voluntarily. Another method is offering early retirements, where older employees are encouraged, often with the financial incentives, to leave before the standard retirement age. Some companies also use job sharing or reduced work weeks, where employees work fewer hours so that the burden of downsizing is shared more evenly. Although de-recruitment is often unavoidable, it can have serious effects on employees' morale and organizational reputation as well. Therefore, a manager must handle it very carefully, communicating openly, treating employees fairly, and offering support such as severance packages and job placement assistance. After recruitment, the next step of HR process is selection. Finally, when there is a pool of candidate, managers move to the selection, means deciding who is best qualified for the job. Selection is essential, a prediction of which applicants will succeed if hired. Making the wrong decisions can be very costly for the organization. For example, if a company hires someone who performs poorly, it wastes resources on training, losses productivity, and may even harm customer relationships as well. But on the other hand, rejecting a strong candidate also represent a missed opportunity. So that is why selection tools such as application forms or written tests or interviews or background checks and performance simulation tests are designed to be both valid and reliable. Validity means tools actually measure what it is supposed to measure and predict job performance, while reliability means it produces consistent results over time. So, to further reduce turnover, some organization uses realistic job reviews. These provide applicants with both the positives and the negative aspects of jobs before they are hired. For example, if someone is applying for a call center position, the preview might highlight opportunities for teamwork and growth, but also make clear that the job involves long working hours of repetitive customer calls. So, when employee knows what to expect, they are more likely to remain satisfied and committed and reduce their early resignations. So, this brings us to the end of part 1 of the chapter Managing Human Resource. Today, we explored the strategic importance of HRM and how organization attracts the right talent through planning, recruitment and selection. Remember, hiring is not just about filling vacancy, it is about ensuring that the right people are brought into the organization so that they contribute into the long term success of the organization. In the next part, we will move further into the HRM process and see how organizations develop employees through training and performance management, and how to retain them and how to reward them in order to build a strong relationship with them. Stay tuned for the second half, where we will see how employees become long-term asset of the organization. That is all about today's lecture. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.